Good afternoon. This is FIDE Senior Trainer and International Master Chess Coach Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. So I will be covering some positions where you have to do correct planning in endgame and some tactics followed by our main topic. Hello Mr. Venkatasan. Good afternoon. Now in this particular position, white is Grandmaster Koto and black is Kateto. So how should white has an apparent advantage? You can see white has pair of bishop, better center and also an active position. What should white do? How should white plan? Planning in endgame, or you can say paradox of endgame. How should white play here? Hello, Arina Fomanev. Hello, Arina Fomincheva. Welcome. Creative Mind. Hello. Thank you. Happy Saraswati Puja to all of you. How should white plan here? I give you time. There is no rush. Give you 2-3 minutes time. 3 minutes time. Work out a plan. Can somebody tell me a plan? Arina Fomenchiva, where are you from? So creative mind says h4 rook h1 central break. So the idea is correct and execution is wrong. The execution is wrong. The idea is central break, but not not h4, weakening g4. You should prepare something like king e2, rook coming here, f3 and e4. This is the simple way you have to drive the knight. The idea is you have to drive the knight. So king c2. First, preliminary preparation. Now there is nothing better. So you take, and now preparing f3, e4. You cannot play f3 immediately, it's a blunder. Now this is important, that you have to put pressure on the open file first. I mean half open file. You can't play rook b8, only move. And now finally the break comes. White is all set for the break. Next he will drive the knight and e4 break. White, because the two bishops are there, the game more opens, the more better for the two bishops side. Now white is playing with 5 pieces. King, 2 rook and 2 bishops. Whereas black is outnumbered. Though practically material is equal on the board, black is outnumbered. What else? He is giving a threat of h4. The threat is, plan is h4 and then e4 break. Now both fronts, taking the pawn is weak, more weaknesses. Stop the counterplay. And finally the break. The e4 break has been stopped, but now g4 break and it is all over. Now a target, rook should return to g file. Now there is, the white has done that job. Now the new fresh entry, this is the target, the root. So the king, king, king and then enter. And then enter. So you have to be very quick in planning. And there are not many defenders. The knight is tied down already to the square. You cannot control. Then the rook will filter. Rook will filter here. Now everything is paralyzed. Well, he is in virtual zugzwang. Now the king is entering, and after that it is over. The story is over. So the only way to stop the king and the break. Forced. And now you cannot accept the exchange because a discover check, pawn into and 2 connected pawns and finish. Game is over. Zugzwang. Nothing. He cannot come. He cannot come. Double check. And the pawn is lost and with the game. So it is not, double bishop itself is not an advantage. I will do few episodes on double bishop. Double bishop means you have to part with one of the bishop at right time. And you need to open the game. Middle game it is different. End game it is different. So this is lost. But notice that if you do not bring the king, for example here. So here you have got maximum you have got here. And now there is no plan. Only you give a threat, then only you can come. Now this is a threat, not immediately. Not immediately. First you give a threat, paralyze him. And then you bring the rook to this point. Sorry, I made a wrong draft. This point. Preparing. Next. Planning in middle end game. Now this position is overwhelming. Overwhelming advantage. Capablanca. A great Capablanca. For him it is just so easy that knight is vastly superior to bad bishop. Black is also a chess prodigy from USA, and Capablanca is also a chess prodigy. Prodigy versus prodigy. So here the g4, and now the king enters. Again the king comes and now king enters. This should be the plan. First come. Now fix the king side. Now king, king, king. It should be over. The material may be equal, but this is worse than a pawn now, because it is tied down and the active king, good knight. Active king. Now the pawns are also weak. three weaknesses and also bad piece, and opponent has all good piece. Now position is winning, but I will tell you, in winning positions players become careless. Now the position is overwhelming. After pawn into pawn, it is easily winning. King to e5 and wins. So push. Now the position is fantastic. I will now halt here, ask you, how should white make progress? How white should make progress here? What should be the plan for white now? Somebody suggest me a plan for white. Can somebody suggest me a plan? No, it is not so easy. You give the knight and make a queen. It's not that easy. I am asking you, move now, execute. What should white do? What should white do now? Do not underestimate the counterplay, because he can come here and give threats. Do not underestimate. Not that easy. Can somebody suggest me a move? Will you suggest me a move now? No, not correct. Knight f6 is not correct. You see the three moves. On knight f6, he can play king to h4. Black will play king h4. You take the bishop, you are on the 6th, 7th queen. Not a good idea. On knight f6, You can also play bishop to f7. You can also play bishop f7. Not good idea. You know, the great Capablanca played carelessly and won the game. He played the move this move. Whereas he is winning easily with f6. With an easy victory. For example, king. There is nothing other than that. Black must try to do queen. And now knight. The point is bishop is statue. The bishop cannot move. Pawn queens. So only move bishop f7 or pawn push. Finish. It is finished. This is finishing quickly. Now bishop check. The king will go to g5 and e5 e6. So not an f6. See, the execution must be more correct. f6 is the correct move. But this is more faster. But he played this, that also wins, but takes lot of time. Now he wins the game, but takes time. Now even king e5 also will win. King e5 wins. He comes. You cannot play king e6. King pawn endgame. Knight check and king pawn. So only move. And winning the game anyway. Now he can win the game by playing king coming and king coming there and winning. But first all was pawn f6. All right. I already gave you a position bishop versus 8 pawns, and that was a draw. I will give you that position maybe, but first tell me, is this position 7 pawn for knight, rook and black has 7 pawns for knight. Is this a draw or is it a win? Who is winning, or is it a draw? 7 pawns for a knight. Would you believe? Normally, the end game pawns are dangerous, and 3 pawns are also dangerous. Here 7 pawns. Creative mind, all the best for National Sub-Junior at Delhi. My best wishes. Hello Ayujan. What is this position? Is this a draw or is it somebody is winning? Okay, demonstrate. Demonstrate. Actually, with correct play, it should be draw. With correct play, it should be draw, but black trying to win. There are, okay. Yeah, you can show the solution. You can show the solution. What is the winning plan? Execution is not easy, it is very difficult. Let me tell you, one might have seen the position in Capablanca's book, but execution is difficult. Now, after king here, he will lose the game. King c3 mate threat. And now he comes here, rook check. You cannot go mate, and if you come up, check, and only move, and now check, and next move mate. Next move mate. So he cannot go king c4, only move king a5. King into mate threat again. Now mate threat again. Now knight. Why the knight move? Because black is getting counter action from here and checks will come. You cannot win without the knight. So here is preparing to cover the knight at c3. The knight is planning to come here and keep cover to the king. And this c3 can be defended. So the correct timing. Well, If you play rook c2, rb3, and now king here is winning. Why? Because suppose you come here, suppose king to a6, or rook check, rook coming, mate threat is there. There is a mate threat. So check, and now if you come up also loses. Suppose this is also loses. Rook b6 check, and now king to b7. Idea mate. Rook checkmate. So you have to go only move, only move, only move. Now you cannot go for the rook. The pawns are too much. You cannot go. This is bad. The only move. Now cover. Mate threat. Rook b6 mate. Check. Mate threat. And winning. Ultimately you come, and now king, if king a5, if king a5, this also loses, winning the pawns. There is a mate threat. See, the whole point is that the position, it is anyway winning. Anyway winning. Beautiful game, beautifully demonstrated by Capablanca. For example, if you play king 8, now rook. Mate threat. Again mate threat. Now mate threat. If you cannot push the pawn. King to b6 mate. No, this is just, no, you cannot give a king b6 because check, but he can win. He can play here. Maybe here. Maybe here, and the king will come in time, I guess. Now pawn push, here it is winning. So you have to make the king move. That gives time to maybe here what? King, and paralyzing. It's paralyzed. So I showed you the position, bishop versus 6 pawns, so all 8 pawns. For example, I think some few classes back I showed you this position. I think this position I showed you. This position white to play. Even though there are 8 pawns, the bishop check. I made a wrong setting. Here. Even though this position, the 8 pawns, bishop check, and bishop here draw. The bishop is taking charge of all these pawns. You cannot improve. I will not allow. So it is not always the material, the positional factors counts. The positional factors counts. Okay. And now you come here, I will just wait. Lot of waiting moves. Okay. So it is a win for white, even though there are 7 pawns for knight. This position, it is I picked up from the World Championship match between Alekhine and Capablanca. Actually, Capablanca was a great endgame player and a fantastic positional construction he had. But he had beaten Alekhine all the encounters, excepting some 2 or 3 draws before the match. So he became very careless. He thought he will easily beat Alekhine. But Alekhine worked hard and found the defects in Capablanca's play, and he won the match. But he never allowed a return match because he was simply afraid of him. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let us now see how white can win the game. How can white win the game? Now, black king is active compared to white king, and he is coming here. So, but white has an extra pawn. So how will you win? Hello, Orsi. The position, it is winning, but really it is very instructive. What is the winning plan? Not easy, not easy. You have to make a quick assessment that king pawn endgame will lose. Suppose black comes and exchanges that rook for the pawn, then king pawn endgame is winning easily. Now he plays rook, king. Now he cannot take the pawn. He cannot take the pawn because rook check, rook exchange and winning. He cannot take. Now again. So repeat. Now white need to find a plan. So, and now king. Now idea, the king wants to penetrate. King wants to penetrate. So he has to first block. There is no choice. There is no choice. He is giving a threat to exchange the rook and king pawn endgame. Only move. Check. Now black has safeguarded all the pawns. But the winning process is you have to get a pawn break by creating a zugzwang. King. First you have to stop. But counterplay. He is looking desperately counterplay. So now the rook is tied down and the break will come. This is the break will come. Then making all weaknesses. Break. Now creating attack over side, do not go for unnecessary pawn. For example, king coming here and king takes, gives time to black. Do not come. This pawn is important. Why? This pawn is important. The reason is this pass pawn. Creating a pass pawn. King. Now if you play rook here, he will play king. Zugzwang. Once again a zugzwang. Now the threat is to come here and take the pawn and again come back. So you cannot do. So he plays pawn push. And now the technical again. Zugzwang. Once again a zugzwang. The king cannot come, pawn push wins. King into, not pawn push, sorry. Here, rook here wins. Idea, if you take the pawn, king pawn endgame. Zugzwang. You cannot take king into pawn and you cannot take rook into pawn. Both are lost. The king is far away and a pass pawn has been created. And winning. Now cut off the king. Yes. So the whole point is now we can see black winning the game because of two reasons. Number one, there is outside pass pawn because all the time king pawn endgame threats. Number two, white is playing with two pieces. White is playing with two pieces. Black is playing with one piece only because this piece will be idle and passive after some time. Now this is passive because of the pawn. So white is playing with two pieces. Rook is ideally placed behind the pass pawn. An excellent instructive game, a typical pawn break. Many of your endgame foundation is built by analyzing your classical examples of great players. You have to strengthen your foundation, the conception of endgame, a typical method. Now the position, I want your assessment. Can somebody assess the position? Black is exchanged up and black has a deadly pass pawn. This is a deadly pass pawn and he is exchanged up. Can somebody assess the position? What is the actual result of the game? Evaluate and tell me what is happening. These positions are very important for your understanding of planning in mid-end game. Can somebody tell me what is the actual assessment of the position? Make an evaluation. Is white to play? Make an evaluation. So, RC Ghosh says black wins. What about others? What about others? What about Eugen? What about creative mind? Huh? RC Ghosh says black win. Do you agree with it? Do you agree? I'll tell you, and the evaluation actually black is better. But with correct play, white will be able to hold the balance. One thing is sure that black is going to win a piece. This pawn will collect the bishop. That is sure. But after that he will have two connected pawns. So it is very difficult for white. So white copes up. No, it is not 3 pass pawn because one pawn will fall. Okay, it is very difficult. This is the only move. This is again only move. Otherwise, this rook here and wins easily. After the move, it is over. So only move. Push. Again the only move. Only king move, no other move. He is giving simple threat. The threat is to move the rook. The only move. Now forced. Now push. Forced. Now the position, it is like now again I will ask you the evaluation. Now it is black to play. What is your evaluation? Black to play. Time to time the situation changes. Black to play now. What is your evaluation? Now the situation is more clearer. Now black to play. Tell me your evaluation now. I say it is black to play. Please note it is black to play. White cannot win now. It is not white to play, it is black to play. Not win, not win. It is not a win, still it is a draw. Still this is a draw. The point is, rook takes pawn is bad. Now the correct move is give a rook check and then take the pawn. If you play directly, it will lose. Now this is the point, it is a equal. But if you play rook here, this is lost. Rook here, he will take and winning. The position is winning. Okay, so rook e to check is the correct move. Check, and now check, and now again now black is having upper hand, but white plays correctly. Forced. You cannot push the pawn, that is bad. So keeping the pawns free. Now again the correct move. If you push the pawn, you will be paralyzed. You will be paralyzed. You will not be able to move. You will not be able to move. So again the correct move. Push. Now he pushed here. How should black play now? Once again I am asking you evaluation. A critical mind of a grandmaster. You need to understand the critical moment. Now how should white play now? Your evaluation, is it a draw or is it somebody winning? What is your evaluation? A critical moment. Can you evaluate the position properly? What should white do now? The point is, white has to play very carefully, otherwise white is losing. White has to be very careful now. This point, position, white has to be very careful. A careless play will lose the game. White must play very accurately. So, the correct move. Because you cannot move the pawn. If you support, you can't move this. Rook will come there to c5. So, again the correct move. Rook. Otherwise you can't push. Rook into pawn. Now rook. Okay. Again it is a very difficult moment. It's a very difficult moment now. What should white do? All this is forced. Otherwise white would lose. Now again white must play correct move to draw the game. Wrong move will lose. Critical moment, white must find the only correct move to draw the game. Only move for white to draw. Correct answer. Binoy gives correct answer. You need to slow down. The pawn is running away. So, the correct move. No, first he plays rook, and now rook here, correct. Black to play rook. Now if you play rook 7, now this is losing. Suppose you become ambitious, you come here, which is very natural. This is lost. You should win. There is no check position and the pawn will fall. No check position. This is winning. The pawn will, king is nearer. So this is a lost ending, because here the king is closer to the pawn and the queen will and go and they take it far away. That is why you should not go for queen. Here the correct move is rook coming to d4. Well done, Binoy. Well done. And now the point is, if you play king here, there is a difference. I can go and queen, and then the threat remains. One tempo. It is a question of a tempo. If you play king, then I can go down and it is a draw. Because the tempo remains, one tempo. So everything is different. So here it is a draw. And rook d4, and now he plays rook b5. You stay in the fourth rank. You just stay. Rook just halts. Rook just does not. I will force the king and then I enter. Either here or here to give queen, and then threat remains. Waiting. I will not move. Draw. I will keep on oscillating the rook till the king comes. Once the king comes here, and then I will go 8th rank. Draw. Not king b8. This is a bad move. You cannot, this is bad. You have to oscillate here only. Draw. Very difficult. Excellent play by both players. Now this position, it is basically, you can say it is, white is paralyzed, because the knight is completely dominating this badly placed knight, and the pawn is, so very good now. So the position should be winning easily, but the correct move, zugzwang. It is a zugzwang, because now the king moves here, there is a fork here, and the pawn queens. So, and there is nothing. Knight check. There is nothing better. So here after the move, and if you play like this, then knight into pawn. The king cannot leave the pawn. So the only move, check and queen. Now despite both having queen, the position is lost. Why? Because queen and knight is a wonderful pair, and because of the centralized king position, black will force the queen exchange. Black will force queen exchange. The king cannot go either to the file or to the rank, anywhere, because queen exchange. So only move. You cannot go to this square also. Square is there. So only move. Check. Again the only move. You cannot go to any of the squares. Any of the squares. Because a check is coming. Or you cannot go to this square also. The check is coming. So only move. But check and forcing. Now this is part 1. It is not that easy. Not that easy. You have to hurry up. You have to hurry up, because the white king is coming quicker. Now if you attack the pawn, suppose you attack, h3 is winning move. h3 is winning. Means winning for black. Now if you attack this, knight into pawn is there. Or you come here, then king e4 is coming. So he plays h3, threatening to enter. And winning. Now the point is, you can attack the pawn g4, but I can force a king pawn endgame. So here, and now knight. Now you can see the knight is covering these two squares, and the pawn is covering this. So that means there is a fortress. Black has built up a fortress. And now knight. Forced. Now you need to support the pawn from this square, so that by that time you attack, the king will approach the pawn. You need to support the knight from here. By that time, if king goes for the pawn, the king will enter. Now, king. Now it is the last pitfall. The last pitfall. For example, you want to approach the pawn. The right move to approach. Okay. The wrong move. This is wrong square, right square. Because if you play, this is a rook pawn. By that time you capture, he will enter. Suppose you play bad move. This is a draw. This is a draw. So you have to obstruct the king and approach. Correct move. The final nail in the coffin. Now lost. Because you will check, you will just too slow. You will too slow. And winning the game easily. Excellent play by Koravits. Now I will tell you this position. Basically, it is about the planning in positions. The position it can come from a French advanced variation. It can come from a Caro-Kann. It can come from some Sicilian Paulsen type of position. But here the strength is the pieces of white are better. All are active, and he will grab the open file. Bad bishop, good bishop. This is the main theme. So if you exchange for bishop for knight, you are left with a winning knight against a bishop. So, well, you cannot do any other move. Suppose you come bishop here. Suppose you come, then anyway he will enter. Rook coming here. And double. So, now bishop. Now the knight is just too strong for the bad bishop. So first take the file, priority. Forced. Third rank. Notice your rook belongs third rank operation. You are ready to attack the both side. You are ready to attack. So this is important to stay on third rank. Rather forced. And now it is a very easy win. However, though it is a easy win, how you can plan now? Attack. Forcing. Again forcing. If you play h6, then g4 and paralyzes. So h4. Suddenly there is a threat also. The king is entering. Now the king is entering 1, and also the knight will reposition 2. So the position is lost. Force rather. Pass pawn. Now pass pawn to check. Suddenly the king is paralyzed. It is now an easy win. All you need to filter the king. All you need to filter the king. Lost. There is nothing can stop. Nothing can stop. The king is entering with a absolutely hopeless position. So this is an example, superior knight versus bad bishop. If you see some of the books, textbooks like Modern Chess Strategy by Ludwig Pachman, it's a good book. There are some good examples, and there is also, who is that, Helston, somebody, and William Watson. There are a lot of good books on modern chess strategy where they have given many examples of good knight versus bad bishop. Next, the position, it is an exploitation of superior position. This is, I am not giving a pure tactics. The position is overwhelming. So how should white play now? This is the last position, then I will go to some tactics. How should white play now? White plan is clear. White plan is clear. He has got king side majority. Black's queen side majority is paralyzed. So first, how should you play? He gives a check, or your plan is to come like this. But first you stop the counter play. And now f4. You cannot do all these things. Then why it is not good? Because black is a defender. Defender should not create more weaknesses. Then the bishop will be a monster. If you do, the bishop will be a monster in the diagonal. So he just waits. Now comes, he again challenges. No problem. Now bishop. Please note the dramatic improvement of white pieces. In the diagram, what white wants, the bishop here, and the pawn will come, the king will come. The bishop will be posted to this point, and the king at tempo, forced, and now pawn push. Now look at the perfect. Now you can, if you suppose you play, if you play here bishop here, and that will, one pawn will go. And if you play knight, good knight and bad bishop. If you play knight, what a centralization! You can see the perfect planning of Grandmaster Levenfish. He is a Grandmaster from 1930s, but he was very imaginative and creative. He gave tough time to even contemporary Grandmaster, including Botvinnik. He gave tough time. So this is very well conception. White pieces are centralized good pieces, and black pieces are very poorly placed. Welcome to exchange. It should win. Of course, you don't have to become passive and some checks are coming. Simply all over. Now this is a pass pawn. This pawn will queen promote quickly. But all this is coming. Now okay, I'll show you the finish. This is finish. Now all this is possible when you plan like this. You bring the pieces to center. Perfect ideal situation. And next king is coming. King. So you can see that concept that in end game is very important. Centralizing and making the pieces placed most effective squares. Alright, some tactics. White to play and win. Let us go over some tactics. Yeah, Bina correct. There is a mate threat, only move. Again the only move. And white promotes queen and black can queen, but white will give checkmate. And mate. So good. So next. The next will be little harder. Now the position, it is white to play. And find the winning plan. It has come from Khan, Smyslov system. The point is, now white is preparing to push the bishop away. And push the bishop away. And then knight will come. This is the idea. He wants to attack s3 on bishop h5, g4, and then knight is coming. So, and here h6. Now a piece sack. Now you have to be very perfect in your calculation, because when you take, you must consider he can attack the queen also and take the piece. You have to be very good in calculation. Now bishop into, but intermediary move, not king queen into, that will lose. This intermediary move, in between move, mate threat. I am giving a mate threat here. Mate threat. This is the final point of the combination. The intermediary move. Now queen check. No problem. Your queen attacked. Now queen exchange, but the rook is trapped. Check and winning. White is having decisive material advantage. The whole point is that at 6 you cannot do impulsively. Actually, the Karokan, it has come from Karokan. If you want, I can show you the whole variation from the opening, but doesn't matter. So this is winning. Okay, so I go to the next. The position is white to play. Find out. White has very active pieces. All 5 pieces are active. All 5 pieces are active. And the king is without a guard. Suppose let us say, imagine the rook is here and the knight is here, then it is okay. Suppose, or not rook here, suppose the bishop is here and the knight is there, it is okay. If knight can be here or somewhere here, but it is not there. So white is winning the game. Somebody tell me how white is winning. How does white win? So I got one answer. Or she goes, says, nobody else? Nobody else? I saw or she goes answer. Is there anybody else? Yes, Harsh Mehra. Welcome. Vinod says bishop h7 and knight g5. Precisely, I gave you the position. This is wrong. Most of the player, youngsters, they will only work on this line. This is wrong. This is wrong. Idea, it looks right. It looks right because the knight g5, queen h4. But the correct move is rook here first. First bring the rook. Then only the sacrifice is working. You see, Greek natural, mechanically you should not Greek gift. It looks mechanical. But it is a wrong move to give the sacrifice now. The sacrifice is correct only after rook d3. For example, bishop takes pawn. It is not working. Looks wonderful. But where is the attack? Where is the attack? King. Now when you take it, he will play rook. You do not have a real threat now. So you have to attack. What else you will do? What else you will do? You come here. Now there is no time. You can only repeat moves. Queen f6, king e8. Nothing other than repetition. And now check, repetition. There is nothing much you can do. On knight check, king f8. No improvement. So the correct move is here. Not sack but rook d3. Rook d3. Obviously, pawn f5 is not working. Now, pawn f5 is bad. bd7, you have got this check, and now check, and now knight. Rook is ready. Now the rook is ready to go to third rank against this. Go to third rank at this point. Rook is ready. So only move. But then idea, rook into pawn and mate. Queen check, rook check, mate. And you can defend it, but then you lose the queen. The whole point is f7 can be defended at the cost of the queen. Check and knight check. So this is the point. Rook should be ready. Greek sack mechanically you should not do without calculating. There is not any phi, not any phi. Not any phi what? That is not doing anything. Now any phi got nothing. bishop will come. Nothing coming there. So the correct move is rook d3. Whatever you will do is in trouble. Now f5 is bad. f5, I can play bishop with knight and knight e5. This is a very easy attack. Simply he will be paralyzed. Bishop cannot go to b7. So excellent play. Who is this white player? I don't know. I have selected this from some game. This is the correct move. Rook f3. This is the point. Now you can play rook coming here. Suppose you play other moves, it is winning. So finish. Rook into pawn. Idea mate. Or you lose the queen, which you could not have done with rook here, which will fail if the rook is on d1, because it is a check if rook d1. But now it's a mate. All right. Ng5 is wrong. Now for example, if you play Ng5, he can defend it probably. How he will defend? I will play pawn push only. Pawn push is correct. This is not correct here. This is not correct because you can give a check and now you can pull the bishop back. You cannot. Oh, I think not. This is not correct. Why it is not correct? Why it should lose? Okay, this should win. Bishop check. Now bishop here. The attack will continue anyway. The attack will continue. This is also, so the attack will continue. But I think probably Ng5 is not the best way. Attack is not perfect. Rook d3 is the one, the correct move. Rook d3 is correct. Ng5 I am not convinced. Alright. So let's go move forward to the next game. Now this position is very interesting and it is a marvelous concept. White to play and win the game. Beautiful concept. First move is obvious. He will push the pawn. There is nothing. You cannot do anything without pushing the pawn. And now black push. Now white is at a crossroad. White is at a crossroad. How should white try to win the game? White to play and win. No, f7 is a draw. What is f7? He will take the pawn. It is I say winning, not a draw. If you play f7, bishop takes pawn will come and king g7. No, 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 no. It is not so simple. Khadenga, it is not so simple. Take the pawn and advance. Okay, I will tell you. Let me tell you the concept. Let me tell you the concept. Now white is winning, but white can win. He cannot go to this squares. Now he cannot go to this squares, this squares, this squares. He cannot go. He cannot go to this squares. Because when you go to these squares, he will attack the pawn. Your king in the white square. Let us say, imagine your king at a2. King at a2. He will attack the pawn. Pawn f7 will not do. Pawn f7, king g7 is there. And when you push the pawn, a check is coming. Now when you go to, let us say king is at a2. Let us say king at a2 or b3. He will attack the pawn. And you cannot play e7, bishop check will come. And bishop f7. Bishop check bf7. And you can't play pawn to f7 because king g7 will paralyze the pawns. King g7 will paralyze the pawn. That is why you cannot go to a white square. This is the point. This is the point. King d1. Now pushes. Now don't go to white square. Again this is wrong move. King to c1. Now the bishop cannot come. Cannot come. So now you can go because bishop cannot attack. King b1. Now again going to the wrong square. If you go here, it is wrong. Don't go to the white square. The correct square. For example, if you go here, he will attack. He will attack. The pawn push is bad. King will paralyze. Paralyze. And if you push the pawn, he will give a bishop check. And next move bishop f7. Draw. So do not go to a white square. King. So he will push the pawn. Again, don't take the pawn. If you take the pawn, again it's a draw. So go to b2. Zugzwang. Now it is a zugzwang. Because if bishop moves, then pawn will push. And king moves, then pawn will push. Zugzwang. Now king a2. Now, now is the time to take the pawn. Now is the time you take. Because there is no king. And next king will come. And after that, the king will become tiger. King will come slowly. Okay. It's very important. Very important. Very important. So waiting move. Now waiting move. Only when he comes to white, you go to there. Waiting move. Waiting move. Not king into pawn. This is the last mistake to take the pawn. This is a draw. So king. King here and zugzwang. It's a zugzwang. This position, it is black to play and win the game. I will flip the board. Black to play and win. गणपत हो गया. Black to play and win. It is so, the king is very bad place. So exploit the king. That's it. Exploit the bad king situation. अरे भाई देखो आपका रूक रेडी है. योर रूक इज रेडी. योर क्वीन इज रेडी. सो व्हाट आर यू वेटिंग फॉर? Sacrifice. Sacrifice. Now queen has no square. Queen has no square. Because if you go here, rook check is coming. You cannot go. You cannot go. You cannot go here. So he is lost. only move. There is nothing other than that. You cannot go here. Bishop check is coming. The queen is running out of square. So takes, but then rook check. But then you give a rook check and queen joins. And it is a mate. Rook check and queen into knight mate. So the whole point is, you need to open diagonals, files, to punish the opponent's bad king position. What? Your pieces are there. What for? What are you waiting for? Hit. Hit. Only move. Hit. Queen has no square to go. Even if you come here also, the same thing. Rook check, queen check. The rook and queen check is coming. So only move. Check. Check. You cannot go to h8, h1. Only move and mate. White to play and win. The position is not actually winning. Basically, I have to tell you clearly, it is not a puzzle. You know, I should not say white is winning. You need to get a decisive advantage. You need to get a decisive advantage. A typical IQP position. Normally, IQP positions, the initiative is very important. So, if you exchange few pieces, then black will be very strong. And normally tactical opportunities, pawn breakthrough and seizing center. How to improve the piece position? A thematic, you need to master chess. IQP position, hanging pawn positions, queenside pawn majority, open lines. How white can decisively improve his position? This position, I think if you search in data, you will find minimum 10,000 games. 10,000 games. This structure. More than 10,000 games you will get. This structure. So what should white do? Okay, now I will tell you the last move. It was rook was here. He played rook e1 and black has played b6. These are the last two moves. White move was rook e1, black has played b6. Because black has to double up. What should white do? No, I told you RC, white should not exchange pieces. White should not exchange. This is a cardinal sin. I would say this is a cardinal sin in chess. Exchanging pieces in IQP. It is a chess sin. ऐसा पाप मत करो. Cardinal sin. As Korchnoi exchanged a piece with IQP, then somebody said it is a cardinal sin. Don't exchange. You lose all your advantage. If you exchange few minor pieces, black will be on top. Don't do that. I will exchange if I get some advantage. I will exchange a piece at the cost, some concession you have to do. Knight e4 is a bad move. Knight e4, it is a cardinal sin. Korchnoi did that with Karpov, and the commentary was that it is a cardinal sin. Alright, I will tell you the correct move is knight e5. Knight e5. You cannot take queen takes pawn, losing a knight. You cannot take knight into pawn also. That is also bad. After knight into pawn, that is bad. Queen into pawn is blunder. Knight into pawn is bad. Now, for example, suppose you play knight into pawn. Knight into pawn. Then I will play now bishop. The threat is bishop into knight and then bishop check. So how is he going to meet? How is he going to meet? Knight only move. There is no other defense. Because bishop c5 pawn b4 is there. If you play bishop c5 pawn b4, so only move. Now rook attack, only move. Now I don't want to go. You see, this is not a correct way because you will take the bishop. So threat. You have no time. The queen move is bad. The queen, knight b5 will come. Bishop and knight will come. Followed by bf4. You cannot do. Only move. Again the only move. Queen is bad. Knight b5 is winning. bf4 or knight b5. So only move. And now he is in trouble. Look at the piece position of white. Look at the radius of the pieces. Huh? तेल देखो, तेल का धार देखो. So crushing. So you cannot take knight into pawn. Black cannot afford to take the pawn, neither with queen nor with the knight. The only move. bd7 is also bad. Suppose you play bd7, bishop a6 with a clearly better game. Now knight on knight is bad. The threat is coming. This is threat is coming, and this is coming. This is decisive. So bd7 is bad. So only move. Forced tempo, forced take, forced d5. Position is plus minus because now if you try to pin, I will get a tempo on the bishop, on the pawn, and creating a weakness. Decisive advantage. And also this is also a threat. So this threat, now this threat, this all three. You need to master the IQP, which comes from 12-14 different openings. Believe me, 12 to 14. It can come from English opening, French defense, Sicilian c3. It can come from Nimzo-Indian. It can come Alekhine center counter. It can come from English various openings. Taras, semi-taras. So mastering IQP position. And this is the main diagram. This is the main diagram. Here, this is the main diagram. This diagram comes many positions. The position is here, rook at f1. Rook is from rook f1, rook e1. Then black plays this. Then knight e5. Fantastic move. Yeah, opposite color bishop. A decisive move. Okay, I go to the next diagram. By one, this is white to play and win. White has got everything. Safe king, centralized rooks, and superior position. Then what should white do? How are you going to win? Yes, hers opposite color bishops help also in white. This position, white to play and win. Chalo. So Bishop f5, correct answer. Well played, RC Ghosh. Bishop f5, the correct answer. Karam Chand, the detective, finds the correct move. Because after pawn into, the sacrifice wins. Decisive advantage, because you have to give the bishop. Naturally, the idea is rook into. King into, check. Now bishop cannot come. Rook into bishop, check. Knight into bishop. So the only move king. But then you make an intermediary move. Before you attacking the rook, you make an intermediary move. Check. 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 Force pawn f6 and then attack zugzwang. Now rook has to leave this point or the back rank. Choice is his. He must allow a back rank check or allow queen takes f6 check. Lost. But if you go here something like queen to where? If you go, he will survive. Suppose you go queen to where he can go. Something like queen g7, he will survive, I think. Because queen will run away. Suppose you go directly attacking, he can return the extra rook and run away with the king c7. So your execution must be perfect. Win. Finish. Finish. Complete finish. Well done. Next. The position is white to play and win. White to play and win, Babu. How do you play? How do you win with white? White is winning. Okay, Tanmay Tripathi says rook f6. Rook into f6, gf6. Black has no choice. gf6. Then what? What then? Okay, boys, rook f6, gf6. What next? Queen f6, queen f7. You rook f6, gf, queen f6. Black will play queen f7. He will keep on interposing the queen. You give check, check, he will play queen g8, f7. What next? Rook f6, pawn f6, queen f6, queen f7. What next? कैसा जीतोगे भाई? You will play queen h8, queen g8, queen f7, queen f6, queen f7. No, 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 no. Not correct. Not correct. Not correct. Not correct. RC. Not correct. Not correct. No, no, no. Queen h6. Not correct. Yeah, we now gives the correct answer. Now the point is, now rook into take, check, queen, check, queen. Now if you keep giving, you will keep queen interpose, but you break the coordination. The point is, now queen check, he has got queen f7. So you break the coordination. Forced, because this is a mate in one. So only move, but queen check, the only move, and now this check, finish. Mate. Well done. Intermediary move. You break the coordination of the queen by giving knight check. Well done. The position is white to play and win. White is Anatoly Bhai Karpov. White is Anatoly Bhai Karpov. How does white win? कैसे जीतोगे? Not rook c7, not rook c7. No, no, no. Not correct move. Not correct move. Rook c7 is bad move. Rook c7, bishop takes pawn will come. You play rook c7, bishop takes pawn. You lose all your attack. Black has got plenty of pawns. Maybe rook c7, he can even move the queen. Queen into pawn. Nothing. rc7, you will just take queen into pawn. Nothing. Rook c7 loses to queen takes pawn. It is black who will win. Harsh Mehra, the correct answer. Rook into d4. A simple exchange sack. Because after this, he is simply terrible. The king is now crying. The king is crying. All the black squares. The bishop is alive. Terrible. This is a terrible move. So rook d4 is the correct move, and after the move rook here, there is nothing better. Now you keep the rook on the board. Back rank, because your back rank is weak, rook on the board. Now the bishop is coming. bb2, the only move, and with a winning attack. Now this is lost. Now this is lost. Rook into. There is no threat. If you keep giving, then bishop will come in between. So destroy the defender. Rook into is a mate. Rook into is a checkmate. Now check, check, checkmate. And queen into direct mate. If you play queen into, next one move mate. One move mate. Well done. Rook d4 में गणपत हो गया. Rook d4. Well done, Harsh Mehra. So I think the tactics is coming to an end. We will now go for the topic queen sacrifice. Alright. Now this position is black to play. The position is black to play. You can easily see that black has a decisive advantage because white king position is very weak and center is also not good, vulnerable center, lot of weak squares. So how should black exploit the position? How black should exploit the position? Tanmaya Tripathi says knight h5. Not correct. Not correct. Not correct. Not correct answer. Yeah, and ng4, the correct answer, ng4. With a double attack, the threat is bishop check is coming and queen is coming. There are two threats. ng4, bishop check, so you have to stop. You cannot allow a bishop check. This check is winning, so only move, only move. The point is, now you need to carry on your initiative. White has stopped the threat. The threat he has stopped. What to do now? Press the initiative. Correct. Kanakasri, correct move, pawn into, very well played. The point is, after s3 you can take it. Now there is no time for to take the knight. The check is decisive and the queen will enter. The point is, now there is no time for him to take the knight. The check is winning. Okay, you can come here also, it doesn't matter. Still this is lost, queen check and then queen check and then mate. So either way it is lost. So very well played. Pawn into. Pawn into. So the correct move, pawn into pawn, only move, but then pawn into is winning. Winning. He must lose. Now he is not only pawn down, but is also very bad position. Okay. Well done. Well done. The position is black to play and win. Black to play and win. We know a correct answer. Knight check. Knight check. Forced to take. King cannot move. So only move queen into, but then queen check. The only move, rook check. Only move, you cannot go down, checkmate. The only move, knight check. Only move, king. Now there is a mate threat. Rook checkmate, rook checkmate. If you place g4, anyway rook check. Anyway, and then rook mate. Drag the king into the territory. मैदान में खींच के लेके आओ, घर से बाहर खींच के लेके आओ, कान पकड़ के. So knight check, queen check, rook check, knight check, and king, rook check, pawn check, rook checkmate. What a move! Taka wins. Well done. The position is winning for white. I'm sorry, I made wrong assessment. Sorry, it is not winning for white. White has to save the game. Drawing for white. It looks like white is losing. White is in a losing position because he has sacrificed material, and now rook exchange will lose the game. So how white can save the game? How white can save the game? Okay, what if fe3? What if fe3? Okay, I will go back. Now the position is, now knight check. If you play f into e3, then here queen into knight, and the advantage will you have to allow me discover attack. Of course, there is no forced line, but the position is horrible because the discover attack is coming. Your queen has to move. You got to move your queen now, but where? You have to move your queen somewhere to run away, and then you lose material. Where the queen is go? Let us say you go here, then knight d2 check, knight double check. You go here, now knight d2. If you go where you go, it is lost. You go here, and now knight check will win material. Decisive material. Lost. Maybe knight check is winning. So you cannot allow a forced discover attack. Forced discover attack. Okay. So here the drawing, the whole point is white appears in lost position. This position looking losing, but white saves the game miraculously. He plays rook to, what is the threat? Giving a mate threat. Queen into pawn into, and then mate threat. This is the threat. There is no time. So you have to take the bishop. You got to take the bishop. But then he comes rook it. Idea, the rook check and then draw. Rook check, draw. The king cannot go to the square. So forced. Mate threat, one move mate threat. One move mate threat. So only move to stop. Then queen into, then now you have to play attack the knight. But then perpetual. You cannot come. This is bad because after this check, white will win the game. You will allow a knight check. So you have to go king, rook. Again you have to go to h8, draw. All right. Okay. Now I will go to the topic queen sacrifice for compensation. This is a tall attack. White is better. Now, what is the plan of white? White wants to start an action g4, g5, and this bishop has a room here. So white is preparing for that. g4. g5. And now white played brilliantly. The idea, now you can see this is already ready. This is ready. Now you want to open the line for this bishop by nd5. Anyway, you are not losing material because temporary. I will get the e7 bishop also. So only move. And now white has simple winning plan. Now he is not taking. White should join the knight. The knight comes here and this is decisive. with a decisive advantage. Knight e3 and knight g4, it is just crushing. I would say this is just crushing attack. So he made a bad move here, not good move. The correct move was knight e3 and knight g4. Well, he's a strong grandmaster, and now the idea is sack, piece sack. The simple, bishop into g7, queen check, rook check, pawn into discover check. So he blocks that. The threat is bg7 is coming, only move to stop. Again, the only move. You have no time to do h3, h6. This is the queen sacrifice. This is the queen sacrifice is winning. Only move. A fantastic move. Now, many players will think that only rook in action. No, basically, these bishops are working. Working because of the pawn tension. They will open up. Check. Check. And now pawn into. Mate threat. There is no other way. No other way to stop mate. Only move. This is the point. Now, if you play pawn into pawn, he will survive. This is the point. This is the point. Now you cannot capture any pawn. Now fe5 is bad because bishop into. Now what is the threat? The threat is bishop takes pawn and mate. Bishop takes pawn and mate. This is also bishop into pawn, only move. Now rook h6 here. But in the actual game, what happened? In the actual game, he played bishop into d6. Only move. There is no other way. Nothing he can do. Because the rook is cutting off. Rook is cutting off. The king cannot come. The rook check and mate. So, the only move. Now, simple. He should have played now bishop into pawn. The position is overwhelming. It is an overwhelming position. Because after the move, bishop e8 practically forced, he will just pull the bishop, and start rolling. Overwhelming position. Suppose b8, you pull the bishop, plant the bishop, and then finish. Decisive. But in the game, grandmaster mishandled. Instead of playing bishop into pawn, he played this, which is not a good move. This gives time. Now it is not effective, and he decided to play this draw. But he was winning. So a good queen sacrifice was correct. The queen sacrifice was correct here. No, this queen sacrifice is correct. Some more queen sacrifice. Efim Geller was the first world-class grandmaster who showed lot of new ideas in King's Indian. He showed lot of creative ideas for black, and he revived the opening. One time it was thought King's Indian is unplayable because Tigran Petrosian, he developed a great system. Yuri Auerbach, there are a lot of grandmaster, Korchnoi. But Geller showed lot of creative novelties, new ideas, and made King's Indian alive. He showed the world how to play the King's Indian. Naturally, you have to defend. Now, black is preparing for the central break. The point forced. Now opening the position, and white plays c5. Now this is a critical moment. The pawn is attacking knight, and if you move the knight, you lose all your initiative. Suppose you make a passive move, this is bad. Pawn b4 will come. Bishop b5 will come. He will play bishop b5, pawn b4. It is white who will win the game. But Geller showed this creative move, queen into c5. a completely new idea at that time. Now, for example, knight f5. Now it looks very bad for black because this bishop is lost, and after that the king will be in trouble. Once the dark square is gone, the black king is in serious trouble. But then he comes out with a great idea: queen into and bishop into. If you look at the material, black has got only a knight, bishop and a pawn. Rook, bishop and a pawn or rook, knight, pawn is okay. But knight, bishop and a pawn, but total control of dark square and total control of center, and also more active pieces. Why? These pieces, these are in dark square, and center is controlled. So black pieces are active. Even though materially white is better, black has more active pieces. Play for center. Don't play passively like a6 and rook c7, all this, or rook e7, bad. Active. There is no time to take the pawn here. There is no time to take the pawn. So the point of black's move to rooks in center, you have to accept. Now after pawn into, the d4 knight will fall. The d4 knight falls. So he played queen, but then knight into rook. So what has happened now? Material equality has been established. We have established material equality. Rook, minor piece and a pawn. We have got a rook, minor piece and a pawn, and the dark squares. Now consolidation. You can't allow knight f5. And it is black who stands better now. Organizing everything under the line. Threat, rook into e2. And one pawn gone. Now black is better. Material also. No problem about it. Toulouse was a great attacking player of his time, and also especially was famous as being coach of Boris Spassky. He was a mentor and he brought Spassky to high level and winning. Black has decisive advantage in material also and active pieces. Okay. So 3 pieces for a queen is enough. But in the opening itself, the novelty was still creditable. This is a terrific move. That here, this is a terrific move. So I will show you one more queen sacrifice. This is not the most popular move. Here nd4 is there and g6. These are the most popular lines for black. But this move, the idea is to play knight to e7 and avoid double pawn. But it is not correct way to play. No, this you have to play pawn push. This is the correct move. After d4, white is slightly better. White is little better after d4. Well, I am not going to tell you that I am playing better than Sakis, but I am telling you about the contemporary theory. Bad move. At least e5 he should play. Though black has no problem. After e5, black has no problem. What black should do now? Black will play h6. Why h6? To meet some pawn push with g5. You know, I put pressure on center, indirect pressure. Pawn into pawn. So anyway, this is e5 was correct move, but bad move. This is bad move. And now black has the better game. Black has the better game now. We reach IQP position where white pieces are not so active. You can't play in c3. This is bad. Nuisance. Nuisance it is. Unnecessary noise. There is no check. Knight into f6 will come. No sudden shock. And this is the queen side. You can't take it back rank problem. The idea is to give bishop check. Idea is bishop check and take the queen. But queen into rook. And it is black who is better. The queen sacrifice is fully justified because white is underdeveloped. Black is clearly better. So I should leave the game here. There is too much of noise from outside. I cannot concentrate. So thank you very much, friends. I will see you at 6 p.m. today for the next session, practical training games. I will play dragon with you. I will play dragon, Sicilian, Nasdor, any line you want me to play. I am ready to play anything. Black side, white side, anything I will play. I will play dragon with you. Bye. Bye everybody.